So one of the things that I'm very passionate about is the student loan crisis
Okay.
that we have.
Right.
And I think that for generations we're putting a band-aid on things. So for example, when I went to school, my high school never talked to us about financing for college. They were very particular about which school we should go to.
Hmm.
They we I was in a medical program then,
Okay.
but obviously they wanted us to do that, but most of us didn't end up doing that.
Right.
But in any case, they were all about which school they're sending us. They wanted to put on their resume, the school's resume. They've sent the child to Brown. They send a child to Columbia.
Yeah.
I grew up in New York, so all the fancy schools that they wanted to send us to, but nobody ever talked to us about the cost of the school, what career we're going to go into. Not a You don't even have to pick a specific career. You have, if you're interested in math, or you're interested in science, or you're interested in accounting.
Yeah.
Like, even in accounting, there's 20 something different careers now.
Very true.
So, and you don't even have to do math in accounting if you're an auditor,
Yeah.
right? So it's just exploring the different options in the different areas. We never did any of that. So if I feel like if we did some of that in high school,
Right.
then try stuff out, then maybe we can know what we don't like,
I agree.
you
Yeah.
know?
No one taught us in high school what a student loan is.
Right.
Not at all. No one.
Even up to when you're going to college,
Yeah, we
right?
have to
Like,
rely solely on our parents to like guide us through that and explain to us, what this all is.
right. And I mean, for parents, even for a finance person, even that part is confusing,
Yeah.
because filling out the FAFSA form is confusing.
Yeah.
To
Everyone.
me, it's not.
I've heard that term for so long, and I've never even bothered to understand it or learn what it means.
Right.
Luckily, I have parents and mom that are good with that stuff
Right.
and can handle it, but not everyone has that.
Not most people
So
don't.
so I don't think it's fair.
Most people don't.
Yeah.
I mean, most people don't, and then most people, they get lost in the cloud,
Right.
right? So when you don't know where to go for something, everybody's always saying everything is accessible, everything is accessible. I have a kind of twist to that. Everything is out there. Who it's accessible to varies.
Yeah. Everything's there, but it doesn't mean you know how to use it or
Or
how to
it's
access it.
so clouded out there.
Hmm.
How do you dig through the mud to find it,
I
right?
agree.
And one of the things is with the student loans. So my thing is, like, I know that there was this law that wanted to forgive parts of student loans. And when I started researching that for one of my videos that I was doing, 80% of the forgiveness would be for students that didn't even graduate, because they probably gave up some along the way, because
Yeah.
so why would you, like, so my thing is, I don't understand the methodology with how we're approaching kids with college. And I kind of wanted to know what maybe some of your friends. I know your parents, right? So I know your mom, she had college funds. We have Florida Prepaid down
Yeah.
here. We have Bright Futures. We
Right.
have really good system down here, and still you can get in trouble if you don't have all the things that I just mentioned.
Right.
Um, and one of my goals, which I know because I've spoken to your mom about this, was her not having student loans for the first 4 years of school. So, but not everybody has that. Not everybody's done that. And kind of like, I want to get your ideas about your friends, where, or your classmates. How were they dealing with that type of
Yeah.
thing?
I mean, I have a lot of friends that will have to pay off their student loans for a very long time, and some of them it's a big investment because some of them went on to be like dentists and things like that. And
Right.
hey, they're going to make enough money to pay those off eventually. But not everyone gets into a big money job.
Right.
They could still love it just like I love mine, but it
Hmm.
doesn't mean you're making a whole lot of money, so it's going to take a lot of time to pay off those loans. And I understand, let's like trying to cancel it out for people after the fact, but why don't we try to do something before, they begin college to try to
Right.
minimize the debt that they're going to have to carry on afterwards. I feel like that would probably help the problem a little bit more for years to come.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. you're younger than I am. So in my day, I know that at some point they did cancel student let. So they keep putting these band-aids
Mhm.
on when it gets too bad,
Right.
and then it doesn't solve anything.
Yeah.
So, this is kind of like my issue. I talk to my women's group on my team when we're working with things. I'm like, it's okay to have a critique. I don't want to call it a criticism because I don't want people to come and complain to me about something.
Yeah.
It's okay to have a critique, but come with a solution. It might not be the right one, but at least come with something,
Right. No,
right?
absolutely.
But I feel like we're just going around in this circle, and it's getting worse and worse because college is more expensive.
Yeah.
And like, let's say one of your friends became a dentist, right? I know if they go to Nova down here, it's like $500,000 probably.
Yeah,
So
crazy stuff.
so then they owe like $1 million.
Right.
I mean, when do they get to live the life of a dentist if they come out with $1 million in loans?
Yeah, probably not until they're like 10 years into it, I guess.
Maybe if
Yeah.
they're paying it off properly,
Yeah.
or something like that. So it's kind of like, okay, so you go to college, then you go to dental school, then you specialize, you're like 30,
Yeah.
right? And then you have to pay your dental school loan. $1 million is more than mortgages that we have,
Right.
right? For, I don't know, 10, 15 years. So you're like 40, 45 years old when you actually could buy a house that you and I probably with no loans
Yeah.
could get in our 20s,
Yeah.
maybe 30s. So it's kind of like, so I think of education as an investment. And if you're not going to get the return, so this is where I'm teaching you something now, okay?
I'm all ears.
If you're going to invest in education and you're going to invest this much money and time and knowledge, you're investing so much when you go to school,
Right.
right? And you have, and part of that's why the commitment is important, right? If you're doing all of that, what is your return? Like, what is the degree you're getting? What are you going to be making when you come? How marketable is it? Um, I'm not saying for all of us to go into all marketable, 100% marketable degrees, but know
Definitely.
what it is. So then you know how much you should invest before you get to that point.
Yeah, and you talk about that return on your investment, obviously the money part, but your happiness is also a big return that
Absolutely.
you have to think about. If you get into an industry where you have to pick up hundreds of thousands of dollars in student loans and you'll make more money than most people, but it's not something that you love,
Right.
is that worth it at the
Right.
end of the day? Like I do something that I love.
Right.
I don't make a crazy amount of money, but I also didn't have to put in
Right.
a whole bunch of money like someone in the medical field would have
Right.
to. So,
Right.
you got to think about both that financial return, but also your return on your happiness and what you want to do, for the rest of your life so you can be happy every day that you wake up. Like I love going to work. I go to work all the time and I'm happy every single day. I love what I do, and that's not something that everyone can say. So in like my mind, my return was amazing.
Yeah.
Like what I put in was perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're not you have the whole well-rounded thing going,
Mhm.
right? Because you're not bogged down with the debt,
Right.
right? And to me, I never made in my career a whole lot of money in my whole 49 years.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised on what I've lived on.
Hmm.
But it's the way I managed it
Oh,
that
absolutely.
worked.
Yeah.
The things I did with it. And my saying, one of my sayings, and Chala could tell you I have a lot of sayings. One of my sayings is gratitude makes everything enough.